This is a video over the writings of Jordan Ann and her book called The Baptists. Also another book titled Baptist Through the Centuries by David W. Berberington, and their writings over the Great Awakening. The Great Awakening was a time of great revival in America, which came out of a pre-existing movement called the Enlightenment. A great intellectual movement of the age, marked by its elevation of the capacity of human reason. And from the Enlightenment came a shift in people's approach to religion, as many were going away from biblical teachings, and produced a neglecting of biblical truth and evangelizing. People no longer felt the need to keep the moral law of God and neglected the Christian standards, which caused the Baptist life to slow and even seem to be stagnant. This was a time when church seemed to be the last thing on people's minds, as it seemed that religion itself was losing its hold. The Great Awakening caught fire from two ministers, Theodore Frelinghuysen and Gilbert Tennent, a Dutch evangelist and a Presbyterian, who began preaching in 1720. This awakening seemed to be catching along with others, such as Jonathan Edwards, who brought the revival to New Jersey in 1730 with his famous sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Though Edwards did not start the very first movement of the Great Awakening, he himself is remembered as its greatest leader, as it was his sermon that thrilled and filled his hearers with fear for their coming damnation if not converted. Though Edwards and his fear-filled sermons were much of the hype in the start of the Great Awakening, Edwards was not the only one to rise to a noteworthy status. George Whitefield preached a message not much different from Edwards, but Whitefield's message was all the more dramatic and moving to his congregations. So much that his Anglican superiors moved him from the pulpit. Whitefield was known for bringing great conviction upon his congregation, with as much dramatic and theatrical effects as his sermons. Whitefield's preaching drew people from all denominations and crowds as large as 6,000 people would gather. With the Great Awakening and its dramatic preaching and effects on the American colonies, it is marked as a dawn of a new era of growth in American denominations. With these movements, the Great Awakening, Edwards and Whitefield's preaching, popularized Christianity so much that it made it socially acceptable for people to leave their lives to join the Baptist movement. This movement produced a new type of Baptist, known as the Separatists, or the New Lights, who would go on to lead the evangelical movement back into the once dying faith. With an increasing awareness and effort for missions, the Great Awakening is known as one of the greatest revivals in America, as it would go to produce some of the biggest numbers of growth of its time. Without the Great Awakening, there is no way to know where the Baptist faith or where religion in general would be in America today. So we have this movement to thank.